Hey guys, this is Dr. Steven. On my way home from Africa, my colleague and I decided we had to stop over in Europe, and so we were nearby Cologne, Germany, so we rented a car and drove over here. I've been here before, but it's been a long time. This is the third largest cathedral in the whole world, and it's pretty impressive, you know, even though I understand all the challenges between Catholicism and Protestantism. There are some lessons we can learn from a place like this, because 1,000 years ago, when there really was just the Roman Church, they built this so that illiterate people could understand the majesty and the glory of God. And when you go in, the pastor or the musicians, the priest, none of those people are elevated. What's elevated is the idea of Jesus being Lord over all and the majesty of God. So anyways, just wanted to say hi from Cologne, Germany, and we'll talk more about the class now.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Steven. I'm down here in my study again. I hope you enjoyed the little video from Cologne, Germany. I actually had taped that for a Doctor of Ministry course that I taught this past summer for Shiloh on worship and worship and theology and some of those things, and it just works so well for this week's topic, which is the age of the Catholic Church. And so I just wanted to give us a real quick look at this week and say a couple of things. First of all, when we talk about the Catholic Church, we're really small c. We're saying the universal church, the church as it was accepted for the first many centuries of the church. And let's face it, we as Protestants have to acknowledge that at one point, 1,000 years ago, all of us were part of that Roman church. That was the church. And there were little offshoots, particularly in the monastic orders. And we'll deal more with that when we deal with the Middle Ages. But I remember a church history professor that told us something I've always remembered. He said, when you're in the Middle Ages and you're trying to find revival and you're trying to find that spark, that remnant of God's people who are inflamed by the Holy Spirit and on fire for the Lord, he said, where you look are the monastic orders. You look at St. Francis, you look at St. Benedict, you look at St. Patrick, you look at some of those folks, because they were really carrying the banner, as it were, for that time. So we're going to be going through, of course, all of us have Bruce Shelley's great book on church history, and then the graduate students, you also have the Shaw text, and you can see your assignments. But I just want to make a quick statement. I consider the quizzes to just be a point of learning and engaging in the text. So I am completely giving you the authority, authorizing you to make the quizzes completely open book. Okay, you can go through the book while you take the quiz, because the purpose isn't for you to memorize minutia. The purpose is for you just to engage the material. And so you have the study questions. You can kind of follow along and see where that's in the text, and then just take the quiz open book. And similarly with the graduate students, your reflection papers, please have your texts open as you just reflect on the readings. This is not intended to be just some grueling effort at you memorizing a lot of stuff. I really want you engaging in the material. And then finally, the discussion question the forum has to do with this whole issue, particularly the Montanists and Marcion and some of the early heresies in the church that actually had a lot to do with what we would now call the charismatic gifts. And it was great getting to know you guys in the discussion threads this week. And as I read several of them, there were a couple of you that went back and forth talking about your concerns about Shiloh University. And I share and understand those concerns. I'm new with Shiloh. I've only been a part of Shiloh for about the last year. One of my close friends is Dr. Mark Glenn, who's the Vice President of Academics. And similarly, he's been with the university just a few years. But I've gotten to know Dr. Chris, the president, and numerous others of all the administrators, and they're just wonderful, godly people. And so, what you do need to know is this. Yeah, if you look at the history of Shiloh years ago, it was connected to a fellowship of churches that would have been considered quite charismatic or Pentecostal. However, it is no longer a part of that. It is completely independent. It is an independent evangelical accredited seminary and university. It does have a leaning toward what we might today call a charismatic perspective on the move of the Holy Spirit. However, by no means is that something that would divide and tell people they can't be a part of Shiloh, because the academic stance is very solid, biblical, and evangelical. I was a vineyard pastor for many years. My degrees, I have a degree from Fuller Theological Seminary, which is a very mainline evangelical Protestant seminary. My doctorate is from a conservative Presbyterian seminary, actually one that is connected with R.C. Sproul, if you have ever heard of his name. And so I just want you to know that the people that are in place, at least all the professors I have thus far met in some of our video meetings and what have you, are solid scholars of the Word and people that passionately love Jesus and love the whole church. One of my sayings from a mentor of mine is that God called us to love the whole church, even the parts we don't like. So just kind of relieve your concerns for that. We're going to have a great week this week. I look forward to jumping in on the discussion threads. Let's be respectful, and yet let's not be afraid to push gently back if we disagree with somebody, and be robust, and let's learn through that. God bless you guys. We're going to have a great week.